track day, Brent, track day! Track day? What day is it? Brent, what day is it? Track day! Track day. So what are we gonna do today? We are going up. Our protocol is as such. We will take one lap on the first spec at about 80%. That will allow us to heat up the tires, get a lot of our subjective impressions. 3 laps at full test speed, so of course consistency over that last 10th of a second is going to be important, and then 1 cool down lap. Driver A, this guy, will do that, and then we'll get out, we'll switch, and driver B will do the exact same thing. All right, so let's run down the list. Let's see, alphabetical order. Can we do it? Bridgestone Potenza RE71 RS.
Yep.
Let's see, it was what, 3rd overall, but a very, very tight 3rd overall. What do you think it's going to do up there?
I think it's going to do very well because it does have a high level of grip compared to the others, but it's also very balanced and easy to drive.
There's one nagging thing in the back of my mind though, is on our track, it pushed a little bit. There was a little bit of understeer. This chassis is kind of inherently understeer prone.
You think we'll feel that out there with the bigger turns?
I don't know. That's why I said it's like
maybe
tucked in the back of my mind. Like, well, I don't know. Well, maybe see the EF Falcon. See this RT660. Yes, the Falcon is so good at so many things on our track. Right there for lap times in the dry. Right there for lateral traction, for braking. Kumo X to V730.
There we are. The big track tire.
I know, right?
It didn't like our shorter tire rack test track very much at all. It was trying to be nice. It wasn't great.
It wasn't great, which is crazy because that tire has earned such a reputation for being a long distance tire. It sets a fast pace and it just stays with it.
That's something we need to remember today also. Like, yes, there may be an absolute flyer of a tire on the 2nd lap after they're all scrubbed in, after they're up to temperature. You're gonna have some real high grip magic laps. But we need to remember that it is about consistency. Like, it's not a single lap race.
Falcon, Kumo, Nankang. So the Nankang Sportneck CRS, and this is the updated compound. So
it's got the lateral traction.
Yes, it does.
Which is gonna help out on these, longer sweeping turns.
Yep, and the front end authority, the responsiveness is just point. So that combined with the lateral grip, it's going to be a competitor. It's going to be a contender. I mean, everybody knows that it's a fast tire. The winner of of our first half of our testing, Yokohama Advan A052 or A052. It was 2nd on the skid pad. It was 1st in dry laps.
It's going to be contender. It's going to be right there with the Nankang and the Bridgestone.
It's a time attack tire, right? It's a sprint race tire.
Exactly. It'll be just fine for the lapping that we're going to do today.
And the last extreme performance summer tire in the test, Yokohama Advan Neova AD09.
Right. I don't want to say it was similar to an MP tire. It had the same feel. It was easy to overdrive it.
Last spec in the test, 7th, the only max performance summer tire, Michelin Pilot Sport 4S. It's great to drive on the road. It rocked it in the wet. The steering is wonderful. But you have to be delicate with it. You can't give it rushed inputs. You can't overlap your inputs all that much. If you overstep the front axle, it just pushes into this chattery understeer. So it's not as forgiving. It doesn't have the broad plateau of grip, around the limit as a lot of the extreme performance summer tires do.
It's looking good. Like the weather, I'm really happy with the weather. This is a great day. The weather's going to be consistent, and that's huge.
It is. It's going to be a perfect test day as far as we're concerned. Here we are, Brent. It's the test. We're at our favorite road course for testing tires. We have 6 of the best extreme performance summer tires on the market. We're fresh off of our, headquarters evaluation of on-road,
wet and dry traction, and now we get to find out how they stack up with higher speeds and big sweeping turns of the racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, the Tethered Course back home does a great job for evaluating on-road emergency maneuvers or kind of autocross, kind of more aggressive inputs. But a lot of these 200 treadwear drivers, these extreme performance tire drivers, do HPDEs, do time attacks, do wheel-to-wheel racing. And we get a good idea how those tires perform back home, but nothing quite beats the real thing, so we came to the real thing.
Absolutely, that's what we're all about, is authenticity and finding out by testing, not figuring out, based on what the enthusiast community comes up with. And this year's test is going to look a little different than our track tests in the past. We're saying goodbye to the BRZs.
Yeah, we're gonna miss them.
We're definitely going to miss them. They were great cars, great evaluation tools, great track cars, but we do get a bit of a consolation prize that's sitting right back there, right, in the form of the M2. It's a big power car, has big tires to help harness that power. It was great, a blast to drive.
Fantastic.
On our track back home. But you can kind of tell that it wanted to stretch its legs a little bit and use more of that power that it has, right?
We're going to stretch them out here. It's a stock M2, stock alignment, but we are using track pads, Hawk Performance, DTC 70s in front and DTC 60s in rear, and then 19x10 OZ racing wheels and the same 275/35/19 tire size we used back home.
Right, absolutely. It's pretty common for track use, racing, to use a square setup. It opens up more tire options generally, and you get to rotate your tires. You're not locked into the same axle to help, even out your wear. We have the same 6 tires, same 6 extreme performance summer tires that we tested back home, and that one max performance summer tire, the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S. We're throwing it in again. And we said it the first time around, but we'll say it again. Tire Rack doesn't recommend max performance summer tires for track use. In general, they're just not built to withstand the repeated abuse that you experience on track.
And they're really easy to overdrive when you do.
Absolutely, yeah, and then you end up with tire problems. But we know people do it.
You do it.
It happens. So we're gonna find out what you give up by making that choice in a controlled testing environment.
Right. I think we're both pretty eager to get acquainted with the M2 here at some triple-digit speeds, so let's get after it and see which one of these kind of has what it takes to perform out here.
Yeah, let's do some track things. The Potenza RE71 RS has repeatedly impressed our team on the track, and it continued that tradition on our new test vehicle. In addition to the second fastest average lap at 1 minute 39.7 seconds, it also earned the highest subjective score in the test. We loved the strong front-end traction that pointed the nose exactly where it was supposed to be, and the way we could intuitively overlap trail braking into steering input and then balance the rear end on throttle as the car powered out of the corner. The Azenis RT660 provided a slightly different driving experience than most of the other tires in the test, but it was also one of our subjective favorites. The steering was crisp and very responsive, but on our somewhat understeer-prone M2, it wasn't as effective to rely solely on the front end. The Falcon wanted to rotate in every turn, engaging all 4 tires and requiring a greater level of trust that it would be there when needed. This technique allowed it to keep up with the fastest in the test through most elements on the track, but in sustained turns, the slightly lower ultimate traction demanded less speed to maintain the intended line. Even so, it was still in the top 3 for lap times. 2 of the extreme performance summer tires in the test focused more on endurance and longevity than the fastest outright laps, and the Exta V730 is one of them. We praised its front axle traction and steering authority, and ultimately it was very fast, though it was a sizable step back from the Super 200 tires. We could feel a noticeable difference in grip under braking compared to the previous specs. It required more distance to slow the vehicle, and the rear wanted to move around quite a bit. The same unsteadiness was there when accelerating out of the turn as well, resulting in considerable wasted motion and ultimately slower laps.
When it comes to testing at the track, lap times are generally the most important metric, and the Sportneck CRS was both fast and consistent, delivering the fastest average lap time in the test. Subjectively though, we couldn't fall in love with it. Taken individually, each component was excellent. The braking was incredibly strong, cornering traction was arguably the best in the test, and the steering was immediate and authoritative. It just didn't seem to blend any of those 2 attributes particularly well. Even so, nothing about it was unforgivable, especially when taking those lap times into consideration. Yokohama's Advan AO52 is a benchmark in the extreme performance summer category, and it's always a strong competitor in our track testing. In this test, we praised its ability to translate the vehicle's significant power into forward motion, hunkering down and taking a set before it accelerated off to the next corner. The steering was nice, though we would have liked some additional communication from the front tires and from all four when at the limit. It didn't communicate quite as well as some of the other tires when it was being pushed to the ragged edge, but even so, it was still very fast. The Advan Nova AD09 is the second endurance-focused tire in our test, so the fact that its laps were about a second off the pace of the leaders didn't come as a big surprise. What it lacked in outright speed, it more than made up for in driving enjoyment. The steering was very satisfying, it had great weight, and was direct and authoritative when pointing the front end towards the apex. The overall balance was mostly neutral with a small amount of oversteer that made the vehicle yaw at the hips after the apex. It was incredibly easy and intuitive to control, so the driver could add power and ride a graceful arc away from the corner. Even though it wasn't the fastest option, it just felt right.
As the only max performance summer tire in the test, nobody expected the Pilot Sport 4S to be competitive in outright speed. That's not its mission in the marketplace, and we included it in this test as an illustration of what can be gained from using the right tire for the job. Subjectively, it was nice to drive, though not quite to the level of the EP tires. More importantly, we improved by almost 3 seconds per lap by switching from the Pilot Sport 4S to the test's leading SportNext CRS. In a world where drivers spend thousands of dollars on modifications to shave a second or less off their lap time, switching to an extreme performance summer tire for any serious track work is easily the best performance per dollar upgrade you can make. Oh, that was a day. 7 specs, repeat controls, 8 to 4. It's a lot of driving. I'm exhausted. But we got good data, right?
Very good.
So yeah, we had several tires in the sub 140 club, which is a good place to be.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's start the max performance summer tire. Michelin Pilot Sport 4S.
What do you want to know?
Average lap.
1 minute 42.37.
So it was good. I mean, a 142 is commendable for a max performance summer tire.
For sure.
Sure, we proved that it's pretty quick and it can get the job done if you drive it reasonably. You have to be so careful with it. Like, a little bit too much wheel rate and you're understeering. A little bit too much cornering speed and you're understeering. And then on the way out, a little bit too much throttle and it's not edgy or nervous, but it's just, you're making sideways progress instead of forward progress. Anyway, all right, what was the sixth fastest tire?
The 140.48, so 100 seconds 48. That's the Yokohama Advan Nova AD09.
Oh man, that was such a nice tire to drive.
Fantastic.
It was so good.
I'm glad it's somewhat, it just absolutely redeemed itself if we've been critical of it in the past.
Yeah, and just the steering was just, right now authoritative, and it wanted to rotate just a little bit. I think we described it, or at least I described it, as neutral to oversteer balanced. And
it would put you in your place if you asked too much or were too stupid, but it would do it gently.
Right.
Our lowest subjectively rated tire was the Kumo, the XDV 730.
Neither of us could really fall in love with the Kumo. It had good traits. It's capable. It didn't put it all together incredibly well. It felt nervous under braking. It wanted to rotate in a not particularly useful way.
Right.
Then the 4 top tires, they were all pretty tightly grouped, and we should probably get the disclaimer out of the way. I would say any of these top 4 could be the best tire or the fastest tire for you, depending on your specific scenario. The Yokohama Advan AO52 was the 4th of our top 4, right?
The Yokohama did a 139.92, and it worked. It worked out. I'm not saying it was my favorite subjective tire of the whole group, but I liked it. It was good. It was stable. It was good in transitions. It hunkered down and took the power nice.
All right, next, number 3, the Falcon Azenis RT660. Actually, neither of us had our fastest lap on the first lap. And the reason for that was it just drives a little bit differently.
I think I remember saying like it was almost unsure of itself.
It was, after you learned it, it was again super consistent. It was obviously very fast. Second fastest tire was the Bridgestone Potenza RE71 RS.
139.700.
139.7.
It was so balanced. It's so seamless. It's so polished every single time.
It just does track things the way, like it feels like a tire that was designed by racers, a tire designed by drivers. And then that means the fastest tire of the day, Nankang Sportnex CRS. Where did it fall subjectively? Fourth subjectively.
Tied with the 052.
The fastest tire was fourth subjectively, and there's a reason for that. It feels like a collection of very strong attributes that haven't been completely combined in a natural and intuitive way.
It was kind of squirmy, on some of those long, fast sweepers. It wasn't confidence inspiring. You really kind of had to trust it, that it would hang on.
And it did.
It did. Yeah. It did. But I'll tell you what, if I'm racing, like I want that tire that's talking to me the whole time.
Yep, I agree. Maybe if you're looking for absolute outright speed, which most people are, maybe the Sportnex CRS, but like we said before, you could tune your car around any one of these, top 4 tires and be pretty happy with it.
This was the fastest for us today on this car and those conditions. Like we said, those top 4, they can flip-flop.
Congratulations, Nankang. Yeah. All right on top of things.